Hi everyone, Chris here from IELTS Advantage with another success story. So today we have Denise and she is going to share her story with you guys so that you can learn from her and be successful yourselves in the future. So Denise, can you start off by introducing yourself to everyone?
Hi everybody, my name is Denise. I'm half Venezuelan, half Austrian. I lived for about 7 years in the UK and now I've been in South Africa for the past 10 years.
Excellent, excellent. So I hear that before we started this video, you were telling me there's about 1,000 people every 2 weeks doing the IELTS test in South Africa.
Yes, I think the exam is fully booked. People just simply want to emigrate to different destinations and try new futures. And I think most of the venues, for example, here in Cape Town, are fully booked at least 6 weeks in advance.
Okay. So let's give them some help to those 1,000 people doing it in the future and all the other people all over the world. So let's start off with a little bit about your IELTS journey. What scores were you getting? What did you find difficult? What was maybe frustrating or a challenge for you? And then we can talk about how you overcame those challenges.
Okay. Well, it was actually funny. The first time I took the IELTS, I took it with my husband. And I remember coming out of the test and just discussing basically the writing test.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the question was about people are exercising less. Why is this? What are the causes? And how can we fix this? Problem solution. And I think he just basically wrote simple, well, we are not exercising because we get back from work and we just sit comfortably in front of the couch. And I was just like, but that is so simple. And I wrote like, well, the memberships and we are busy and everything. And I was like, come on, it has to be a little bit more complicated. Well, he got an 8 and I got 6.5.
Yep, I would be able to tell you that before I even look at the essays for
Yeah.
the simple reason of they are testing your ability to communicate in English. So if you use simple ideas and explain things in a simple way, you're going to normally get a higher score compared to if you try and overcomplicate everything, because that is not going to lead to clear communication.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, it brought my arrogance levels, I think, down to scratch. It's like, okay, so I didn't read the question and I didn't answer the question. So, yeah.
Yeah,
then I
most
went
important thing to do
the
is
second
answer
time.
the question.
Exactly. I went the second time and I'm all like pumped up saying it's okay, I need to read the question. But I did very badly on the listening test. And I think it just changed completely my mind. After the listening test, I was so stressed because I just knew I was not going to get the score that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And actually during that exam, I got a 7.5 on the writing. Probably it's because it took my mind off the writing completely. But of course I didn't get the score that I needed for the listening. So then I went on the third time, and then this time, okay, I'm very stressed about the listening, but then I was like, no, for sure now I know what to do on the writing because I managed to do it last time. So I was stressed for both of them. And then I got again a 6.5. So yeah, very frustrating. Very, yes. So
and it's like, not unusual.
Same type of question. But yeah.
So what we'll discuss, I think two of the things that we can discuss are obviously listening and writing. Let's start with listening, and talk a little bit about the stress that you were feeling and how you overcame that stress, or what difficulties were you having in the listening test, and how did you overcome those?
Well, I think the second time when I got a 7 on my listening, I don't know, I completely got lost in between section 2 and section 3. Mm-hmm. The third time, but the first time when I took the test, I got a 9 for listening. Mm-hmm. So it was very confused how different the one exam actually felt to the other. Mm-hmm. On the third time that I actually attempted the test, I just knew, well, I just went back to like relaxing. Okay, just look at the keywords, which is basically what you also say on your course modules. Listen to the keywords and look at especially the multiple option questions. Look at the keywords, and those would actually let you know which ones are the right ones, and they would also let you discard the ones that are wrong. So, and then I got it through, but it was just
So
No,
the first time you got a 9, and then it went down to a 7.
7.
I think that what happens with a lot of people is they for listening especially, the first time they do the test, they don't really prepare for it because they think, oh, it's just an English test and I'm good at English, so I'll go and do it, and they get a very high score for listening. But then they might have to repeat the test because of speaking or because of writing, and they overcomplicate listening because they go and look at some YouTube videos and some books, and it actually causes them to it leads to them getting a lower score because they're so confused about what to do. During the
Yeah.
test, they're like, well, this guy on YouTube said to listen to this keyword here, and this book said to do this and this, and then you can't think clearly, and that's normally why people get a lower score after they get help. Ironically.
Yes, basically yes. Um, and I don't know, maybe I was also distracted, or I was so stressed about the writing, and then it just didn't let me think or listen, or yeah.
Yeah, and stress can play a role in that too. We've had a lot of
Wow.
students as well with who got a high score in listening and then did the test again, got a low score, and the first time they did the test, they weren't under any pressure whatsoever because they were blissfully ignorant about the pressures, and they thought it was just like, oh, it's fine, it's just an English test. And then once they fail the other parts and try and do it again, then they're very, very stressed out. And as you know, our brains do not work very well when they are stressed out. And one of the criticisms of the IELTS test is, well, how can somebody get a 9 one week and a 7 the next week? It's like, well, stress. How can one football, like let's say Real Madrid plays Barcelona 20 times, the score is not going to be the same 20 times, even though it is the same 12 people or 11 guys on the pitch. Stress plays a part and pressure plays a part, and
Uh,
sports teams can fall apart and
no,
people can fall apart.
after all this experience, I mean, like definitely your mindset for the IELTS is extremely important on the
Yeah.
day.
Hmm.
This,
And even
you have to go with a
physiological
different
things
sort
like
of attitude.
your sleep and what you eat for breakfast and whether you get there on time and whether you drink enough water.
But what you were saying is actually is very true. And I mean, well, the last time when I took the IELTS, I must say, physiologically, wow, it was quite stressful for me because, well,
Oh wow, okay. Okay. Okay.
so sitting there for 3 hours wasn't exactly very comfortable.
Mm.
Uh,
Well,
so
congratulations on getting on both things, getting the scores you need, and the upcoming baby. When is it due?
in 2.5 weeks,
2.5 weeks. So end or start of December.
yeah, the 2nd of December.
My birthday is in December, and I feel sorry for him or her because they're only going to get one present. Everyone just says, "Yeah, here's your combined birthday and Christmas present."
Yep, yep.
But as long as you're happy and healthy and everything, so I wish you all the best with that.
Uh,
But to help someone who is maybe suffering with stress, what advice would you give them?
you know, especially because I've been reading a lot of people that has been struggling with, especially with the writing or speaking scores. And many people is like, no, 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 no. The British Council is all about the money-making machine, and they just really try to get you because they don't want you to achieve your dreams or anything like it. And they go with this mentality that somebody's out to get you. It's not true. The exam is because, well, it's like if you go to a restaurant and you order for a cup of tea with a splash of milk and you get it with lemon and honey.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but that's not what you ask. You ask for something, so you might pay for it. So that's why some people get the 6 or 6.5, but you got it with lemon and honey. So you're not giving them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And people is, but I have brilliant ideas and I wrote it so beautifully. And
Yeah,
so
it's
how
about
to manage the stress? You just need to know that the test is very specific for something, and you need to provide it. Well, it took me quite a few tests to actually probably do that, but
Yeah, once you understand that they're looking for a certain thing, and that you need to understand what they want and then give them what they want, it becomes much easier. But in relation to you talking about people blaming the British Council, or blaming their teacher, or blaming their course, or blaming bad luck, one of the things that we do in our company, we help like any company, we're under pressure, we're under stress. And I was actually helping a number of our employees with stress this week, actually. And what I said to them was, one of the steps that you need to take is own your stress, which means,
yeah,
the example I gave is, don't try and climb Mount Everest and then complain that it's cold. It's like,
yeah,
don't, because we were like, don't join a very successful, fast growing company and then complain when there are problems.
yeah,
Because when you blame other people and you blame external influences for your situation, then it's going to be very, very stressful. But if you accept it and you own it, and this is where a lot of our students come, where their stress is relieved, when I say, this is going to be difficult, and your performance is your responsibility. It's not my
yeah,
responsibility. It's not the courses. It's not the British Council's. It's your responsibility to take action and actually get the score. And once they accept that, they're like, oh, okay, it's not so stressful anymore. And then once you take action to solve that thing, then your stress just evaporates. But I think the first step is identifying what the actual problem is. So identify what the problem is, own the problem, and then take action to solve it.
yeah.
Would you
Well,
agree with that?
when I received this course for my third attempt, I just immediately went and booked for the following exam, because unfortunately the one after that one was too close to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
delivery.
Mm,
So that only gave me like 2 weeks. And I was just like, well, but if I haven't done it for 3 attempts, what can I change in 2 weeks to actually just make that difference?
mhm.
So it was very stressful. And that's when I joined your course. So I only joined it 2 weeks before my exam. And it was a bit like, okay, for the first time, I just need to open myself to really understand. And the best thing was actually, after almost completing all the modules, I sent my first,
I'll forgive you, and I'll only forgive you. Normally, I would say to a student, you shouldn't do the test until you complete
and
the module. But you've got quite a good excuse.
I
In
know,
front
so
of me.
you don't have to put that in public, because I don't recommend people to actually do it so quickly. I think they need to prepare much better, but 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 after the first essay correction, when I got the feedback, it's just being able to see,
Yeah,
because you get this course and you're like, but I really read it well, and I thought I answered the task and everything, but you see it with a different eyes.
mm,
And it just completely changed my whole mentality. And it was like, okay, now I do understand. And every single time that I was submitting the essay for the correction, I was getting almost all the score, the 7.5 all the time, because now I understood, okay, now I can take your advice and apply it actually onto what I'm writing.
yeah. I think that's a cause for stress and
Yeah.
frustration, that you get a 6.5, but you want, why is it a 6.5?
Yeah.
And it's very stressful to know you have a problem, but you can't put your finger on why it is a problem or how to fix it. So
Yeah.
getting feedback on your work, and we tell you exactly where you're going wrong and exactly what the problems are. And that in itself, some people might look at that and say, oh, I'm making a lot of mistakes. But if you use your mistakes to get better, and you use those mistakes to improve everything, rather than, oh, I made mistakes and I'm terrible. You're not terrible. You're a human being learning a language. You're going to make mistakes. But the key mindset principle that we always teach is, use your mistakes as, they're like gold dust. That's where the real value is, and where you're going to see improvement.
Correct.
Excellent. So anything else? This seems to be going down the route of helping people with stress and helping people with their mindset. what other key mindset principles, or how to deal with stress, or anything psychological, what would you imagine your brother or sister or your child was doing the test? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think it's like when I wrote the note on the Facebook, is really listen to the advice that you guys are giving, because I've seen also many people that post the essays, and I saw your post yesterday about how to change that system, and I'm very glad that you were doing it, because I see many people are submitting and submitted over and over again. And I know that you initially motivated people to help others and maybe pinpoint certain details that they can improve on. But I did it once with one of the students and just tried to do some comments, and they took it personal.
Yeah.
The reply was more like, please enlighten me where I
Mm.
went wrong. And I'm like, it's not a personal criticism, it's what is asked of you.
Yeah, I think,
Sometimes it's a little bit easier to see when it's somebody else that is actually writing it, not yourself.
yeah,
And I mean, like, you guys know exactly what the IELTS want and what you need to do to provide them in order for the student to actually get this course that they want. So the criticism is just to know how to do it. It's not because, oh no, today I didn't like you, or your idea didn't appreciate it. When I was even studying for the French, I got told the same. It's not about your creativity. I don't care if you are a PhD or you are an expert in the field. It's about how simple you can answer the task
mhm,
and give what is being asked of you.
yeah,
So for me, I think that would be the best advice to actually give anybody. Just
yeah,
understand what's being asked of you.
mhm.
And if you're getting some feedback on it, just work on it. Don't take it personal. It's just,
Yeah, as human beings, we all have an ego, and our egos don't like it when someone criticizes us in any way, and that's just part of being human. But in order to get better at something, like, I constantly ask our students and our team to criticize me and tell me how I can get better, how I can make the team better, and even I find it difficult to take that sometimes, even though I have a very healthy attitude to people giving me feedback. But it is essential to get better.
yeah,
And the other thing that you talked about was when you gave another student advice and they reacted defensively to that. Don't ask students to give you feedback on essays, because it's like going to the hospital and asking the sick people to treat your broken leg.
that's the one.
you, so I see this on the internet all the time, like places like Reddit or internet forums, where people who have got a 5.5 on their IELTS writing are giving advice to other people who got a 5.5. And it's like, I'm not saying I'm the best teacher in the world, but if my car was broken, I would take it to a mechanic. If my son
Yeah.
was sick, I would take them to a doctor. I wouldn't go and find someone who had the same problems as me to try and get
And also you need
experts.
to seek for the right advice, because I've also, in my second attempt, I met somebody during the test that I think he went to an English professor for help on his writing, and he still got a 6 or 6.5,
Yeah,
and it was like 5 attempts. And I
yeah.
was like, well, but this is not a Shakespearean kind of like sort of workshop. So IELTS is different.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I mean, a general English teacher is going to be able to help you with grammar and vocabulary, but they're not going to be able to help you with the style of writing that IELTS is looking for, because they're looking for very specific things.
yeah.
That's another way people go wrong, is they go to a general English course or go to a teacher who might know a little bit about IELTS, but knowing a little bit about it and it is basically the same as knowing nothing about it. You should go to
Exactly.
someone who is a dedicated expert and does nothing but help people with the IELTS test. So, anything else that you would that's great. We can finish now if you want to, but any other you know, coping with stress or mindset principles or anything like that?
It's all of these courses. You can prepare yourself very well, but I think, as we spoke earlier, it all comes down on how you feel on the day.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've also found with my other sections, like reading, I was constantly on 9, and only on this fourth attempt I got an 8. I was
Mm.
like, wow, they changed quite a bit. On the speaking, I got 9, 8, and 8.5. So they do change a bit, but you also change your state of mind changes a bit on the day. So need to learn to kind of like control it. It's still within, I mean, like grade levels, but you can see that it changes. And I'm not a different person. I don't think the exam, well, maybe one was particularly a little bit more difficult than the other one, but they don't vary significantly. So
yeah, just to reiterate the how to cope with stress and how to actually tackle the test is a three-step process. Is identify why you're feeling stressed, or identify what to do, own it. So you are responsible for your own performance, and it's no one else's fault but yourself. And number three, take action to improve. And if you do that, you're going to be able to go through life and go through your test preparation without any stress, and you're going to see improvement. But if you do the opposite, which is don't try and find out why you are stressed, live in ignorance, blame everybody else, and do nothing to actually improve. And that's what most people do. They never find out what to do. They blame everybody else, and they don't do anything significant to actually improve. And then they wonder, oh, why do I keep failing? Let's just blame somebody else again. Like, that feels good. That's the easy thing. But you know, the easy thing is very rarely the effective thing, the thing that's going to help you improve. So
I understand that identifying the stress could actually be related both with, I mean, like the exam is not exactly very cheap.
No.
You spending a lot of money actually just redoing the test. And well, you need the scores because you want to study it abroad, or you want to go somewhere, you want to emigrate. But it's especially that third step that you just mentioned, is just taking action, because you don't do anything if you keep on booking another test and another test and another test if you don't know what you're actually doing wrong.
No.
And so it's like, oh yeah, one day the examiner is going to like what I wrote. No, it's completely the opposite. It's like, what can I do differently that this time I'm going to give the examiner exactly what he's asking of me? So it's just that taking the action. And for me, it was joining your course. So
yeah, I've spoken to students who have spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 because they have repeated the test 10, 20, 30 times.
Wow.
And they never did, in between each test, they never did anything significant to improve their scores. And they just kept spending money and spending money and spending money. And then I said to them, okay, join our course. And our course costs money. It's not a cheap course, but it is a fraction of the course that you're going to. And if you also add in the fact that every day you are not in that job that you deserve, you're losing money. You know, so it's difficult for people to understand that sometimes, because they just want the cheapest, easiest option. But you know, the easiest option and the cheapest option are rarely the effective option.
Yes, there's a lot of free help that is not exactly the most effective help out there.
There's a cost to free.
if you get doing exams all over again, but I'm looking at free videos or free advice. So
yeah. There we go. Excellent. So good luck in Canada, and good luck with the baby. And I hope that this baby gets the Canadian citizenship soon, and all that. And you have a wonderful life in Canada.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good luck to your immigration paperwork as well. Hey?
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Chris. Bye.
Hey, Chris here again. Hopefully you enjoyed that success story video. That student was part of our IELTS VIP course. And on that course, we show students exactly where they're going wrong and exactly what to do to get the score that they need. And we give them all the help and support that they need in order to get a 7, 8, or even 9 in their IELTS test. Now, we only work with a really small number of students. Because of the level of help and feedback and support that we give students, we can only work with a very small number of them. But we also have more success stories than any other online or offline course in the world, which has created a huge amount of demand for our course. So we're the only course in the world, I believe, that has a very long waiting list. If you want to join that waiting list, all you have to do is just click here and you'll be able to add your name, add your email address, and then when one of our students becomes successful and leaves the course, the next position can be for you. Hopefully see you in there. Bye-bye.